It's time to down tools for a bit. Welcome to the ToolShed, the influential podcast for anyone and everyone involved in the building industry. Here's your host, Mick Hawes.
Hey folks, welcome to another episode of the ToolShed. On this week's episode, speaking to Alex and Jordan from Loop Logics, construction software for builders, and we're going to find out the story behind it, how it came into existence, what sets it apart from other builders' software, and why you should check it out. Before we get to talk to them, I need to remind you to take the Builder's Scorecard. There's a link in the description. Just click the link and answer a bunch of questions. It'll take you about 90 seconds. Once you've done it, you'll get a score through to your email in the 4 important essential areas of your building business. And based on that score, you'll also receive a bunch of suggestions on what you might need to do to increase that score. So it's a really quick way of making some progress in the right areas of your business without spending a whole bunch of time and research. It goes straight to the core of the issue. So jump on and do that. Now, we have Jordan and Alex from Loop Logics. Welcome to the show. Don't know who's going to talk at me first, but I'll leave that up to you. Where do we find you guys? Where is headquarters of Loop Logics?
You can find us, Mick, on sunny Gold Coast. We feel pretty blessed to be able to call this home.
Very nice. So the first thing that I always like to find out, and I guess you're going to have to answer this individually because you wouldn't have rehearsed it to get it, in sync. But your backstory, how did you become involved in this space? There's always a reason as to why people end up where they end up, and develop a passion for where they end up putting their effort. So perhaps we'll start with you, Jordan. And how did you get started with Loop Logistics? What's the history of the organisation?
Yeah, good question, Mick. Look, so my background is in technology. I've actually started out as a builder. I still own a building company. So about 10 years ago, best buddy and I, we embarked on that journey of creating a building company. Like many businesses, we started out pen and paper, working out of the garage office. But as the years went by, we obviously were growing and we were doing our best to grow our business. And we came to a crossroads where we really needed to start to look at different technology just so we could support ourselves. We obviously couldn't share the same diary, and one was in the office, one was on site. So that was really the time that we started looking at technology to be able to support the business. Now, my personal experience of that was actually quite shocking. Like, we were looking for, just anything. We didn't really know where really to point ourselves towards, but the further we got down that rabbit hole of looking at software to be able to run our construction company, it was pretty evident that there was either just a plethora of point solutions, but nothing really that as a whole could do what it was that, and we were just a fairly simple construction company. So we just needed the basic things of like estimating, running crews, and obviously invoicing out. So that was a bit of a tricky one for us. It was a bit of a challenge. We did get there in the end. We found software that we could jump onto, but we continued to grow the business. And about 5 years ago now, that was the time where we thought, look, surely there's a better way. Surely there's something that we can do. We're not the only one with these challenges. A lot of our friends also in the construction industry, chatting to those guys and people, within our industry, we could really see that there was this opportunity to be had to really think about what it is a builder or a construction company needs to really be able to just give the company or the organization a playbook, really, to be able to just set it up for success, have one main software system that really covers the majority of the day-to-day operations. And that was to sort of cover both sides. So when you think of a construction business, you have a lot going on in the office, but equally you have just as much going on site. So that was when Loop was formed, I suppose.
Yeah, excellent. So, Alex, tell us how you made the leap from AFL football into this. It doesn't seem like it's a natural sort of an evolution that you're running around playing AFL and then thinking I need to get into builder software. What was the story there? How did that evolve?
Yeah, well, it's funny how Geordie said he doesn't really have a background in tech. Well, I don't have a background in tech or construction. So the one thing that I think I do bring is I learn a lot through sport about connection and culture and how to create a good culture and a successful culture. And that's something that I really enjoy about Loop is it's very much a innovative, creative, inclusive culture where everyone feels like they can have a say and we're really sort of pushing the boundaries of what success looks like in this space because I think for like Geordie said, to have point solutions and to have a tech stack which has 6, 7, 8 applications or things within it, there has to be a better way. And it's just like being part of a team. You don't want to have 6 individuals. You want to be all working together as one collective unit. So I do a little bit of that kind of stuff with the team, but also with the networks that I have external. I've started a partnership network where we've got accountants and lawyers and business coaches like yourself, where we're just trying to spread the network of what Loop can do and how Loop can support different organisations. So that's pretty much my role, where I can increase the network and increase the reach of Loop to the best of my ability.
Hey, I hope you're enjoying the podcast. We're always trying to bring you information that's going to make your life as a builder much easier. So give us a thumbs up and make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss the next episode. Brilliant. It's something that I got involved in many moons ago. So I've been involved in performance coaching for 30-something years. And so took a bit of a left-hand turn at one stage and got involved in coaching at that elite level of sport with tennis players and race car drivers and what have you. And there are so many parallels between the success of an individual sports person and the performance of somebody in business and an outstanding performing team, sports team, and a business team. What are some of the things that you've learnt over your journey that we can learn from sports that we can put into the business, because the parallels are scary?
I think you're 100% right. There are so many parallels, and whenever I do some work with the Gold Coast Suns as well, and whenever I do these workshops, I always say that yes, there are a lot of lessons that the sporting world can teach the corporate world and the business world, but at the same time, there's also a lot of differences. For example, in the sporting world, you've got the top 1 or 2% who are highly motivated. They know what talents they bring to the party, and they maybe just need to be pointed in the right direction. Where in the corporate world, you've got people who may not be highly motivated or driven, or so setting out a clear intention or what the vision and the values and the mission of the business to try and get people on board, I think is far more important in the corporate world than it is in the sporting industry, because you've already got that intrinsic motivation for being an athlete. So really setting what you want to stand for, I think is really important. I think that's what Loop's done really well and has really collaborated with all of our users and all of our the businesses that we partner with. Is they are genuine partners. We listen to their feedback and we act on it as quickly as what we can. Obviously, we've got 8 developers, and there's only so much time that they have to be able to execute a lot of these things. But we listen to the feedback, we apply it as soon as possible. So that's, I guess, a little bit of a difference. But one of the, I guess, the similarities between professional sport and business is you can't do it alone. You need a team. You need a lot of good people that are confident, and you need to empower people. And so it's about putting the right people in the right place. And just recently, a quick example of that was we just did a release of our most recent features, and with tech, you never quite realize how many things your code or it touches. So when you have such a big like piece of code and you touch one thing, it can sometimes trigger off other little pieces, which was I thought a fantastic analogy for our team, our human team, that just because we move one piece in the sales area doesn't mean that's not going to affect customer success, or it's not going to affect the coders in different ways. So you have to always look about what is this one change and how is it going to affect the overall team, and making sure that everyone's on board with it.
Yeah. And I think another thing that you've really brought to the team, Alex, is really building that sense of resilience, because similar to sport and into business, it's you, particularly in a young company like Loop, like we're trying to move at lightning speeds to achieve what we want to achieve, and we come across adversity every day of the week. So now we don't want to shy away from that, but sometimes you cop it day in day out. You've got to obviously really highlight the wins, which you really help us all do, and I know the team will super appreciate that. But it's also finding that resilience in yourself to go, you know what, let's just keep looking at the big goal and let's just keep moving forward. And that's something that's like we both feel passionately about, is within the team we really have that sense of resilience, and we all know what our stretch goals are, what our short-term goals are, and we're just working so hard toward that. So yeah, it's fantastic, and it is nice to see those parallels between what you said, Mick, between professional sports and athletes and the business world.
Yeah, it's scary. Some of the similarities, and just how you're managing your mental state, your thought processes, and how you're managing your emotions. Something that we talk a lot about with our builders, which seems crazy. Like, we talk about a lot of weird shit with our builders, but it's like, it's really, really important. The mental side of things is absolutely so critical, particularly when you get to that elite level, because there's not a huge amount of difference in the physicality and the skills when you get to that top level. But I'm interested to get into some specifics with you, Jordan, about what were some of the specific issues that you found that you're experiencing your building business that you couldn't find a solution for, that caused you to start Loop. What were the things that you were experiencing that were causing problems and challenges in your business that you couldn't find a solution for?
Yeah, sure thing, Mick. So, but it's not unique just to our industry. A lot of industries face the same things. But one thing in building is you have a lot of the day-to-day operations. So you think of a building company or a contractor operates. They've obviously got to manage clients' expectations. They've got to manage staff. Early on in the piece, you've got to do a lot of estimating, and then go through a tendering process. And then when you win these tenders, you've obviously got to project manage the job. So there's a lot of pieces within that puzzle that, from a software point of view, you're trying to tick a lot of boxes straight out of the gates. So that was one piece. But then you start to apply different layers. So within construction, there's a heavy piece of responsibility on the business owners to make sure that you're running a compliant business. So whether that's health and safety, that's making sure that all your tradesmen, subcontractors are licensed, that they're registered for GST if they suggest that they are. So there's all these layers that you've got to manage. And we were trying to find software to be able to do that. Is essentially, we knew where we wanted to go. So we just didn't want to just find software that was great at estimating but had nothing else, or didn't go any deeper than that. So that was some of the challenges that we were certainly facing, and feedback from friends and others in the industry, they were having the similar challenges. So that's where we started. That was the first problem that we were really trying to tackle, is just look at the day-to-day operations, look at the things that we had to cover off as an organization, and bring that all together in one piece, so it all worked coherently. Then when we built those feature sets out within the platform, it was the things like, so we were a scaling company, so we currently have somewhere around 200 staff now, but even 5 years ago we still had a reasonable headcount, and it was, how do we communicate with our team? Now, we don't want our project managers to go from site and then have to come in on a Friday or a Thursday afternoon to deliver their project diary and then sit down with the CFO and go through the accounts and the books. We would much prefer them to still be able to do all that in a really efficient manner on site on location, while our CFO or accountant, bookkeeper, whatever it might be within the organization, they can be where they are. And then there's obviously team communications that, just go on throughout the day. So that was the next big piece, is bringing in that full communication in team and externally. But again, bring that in app, because we didn't want to have, software that ran day-to-day operations and then move through to running Slack or WhatsApp or whatever it is, for various channels, whether that be trade, contractors, staff, team, clients, things like this. So that were like probably the very first early challenges within the industry and within, the pain points that we were certainly faced with, that we really wanted to solve for.
Yeah, perfect. So, and I'd like each of you to answer this next question individually, because I just want your personal perspective. On this podcast, we've spoken to a lot of different builders, software platform businesses, construction software, and obviously you are going to be biased, and I certainly hope you are, towards your own product. But in your mind, what's the thing that really sets Loop apart from other builders' software for people in the construction and building industry? In your mind, like, what grabs you by the heartstrings of the emotion and go, this is why we're different. This is the message we want people to understand.
I reckon for me, the first thing is the visibility that it creates. Is that often, and this is, again, I'm going back on zero tech knowledge before I worked here, and I've been here for 2 years now. So zero tech knowledge, zero construction knowledge. So my feedback is pretty unbiased. I know all I get is the feedback from the people that we've onboarded and the people that I've spoken to. And the real key thing is visibility, just increasing visibility over the whole process of a job. Not saying that I've got, an invoicing app over here, and I've got a timesheet app over here, and I've got a scheduling app over here. And then by having complete visibility of the whole job, that's been, I think, a big point of difference for us, not just from a macro job perspective, but also from a profitability perspective, having that data there to see how many jobs has this person done? Like, are they at capacity? Do we need to potentially get in more staff because this person's redlining it? What's their percentage profitability of a job, or different things like that? I think are within Loop, and so that gives us a point of difference, rather than having to use an external piece of software to tell you how profitable you are or what your numbers are. It's all in that one-stop shop. I guess that would be the first one. And then the second one, I think, that I really like, and I was going to touch on after you spoke about it, Geordie, was the communications piece. That your inbox can just get absolutely clogged with so many FYIs, like, hey, Geordie, can I just get an approval on this? Cheers. And then Geordie's got to go through 1,000 of them. And if you've got more staff, it just becomes so frustrating, where if you've got just a mentions function like a Slack or a Teams within Loop, which we do. So we've got mentions. You can send SMSs to all stakeholders. You've got email functions as well, which all come up in your notifications function within Loop. I feel like that's a bit of a game changer too, to eliminate one extra piece of noise and not have to clog your inbox. So the visibility and communication are the two things that I feel like are some game changers for us. Jordy?
Yeah, they're fantastic two examples. Probably to add further to those, one of the key challenges that still exists in the industry, and we've seen it play out, quite heavily in the last few years, is just builders understanding the profitability, not only at job level, but across their own business. So that was certainly something that we really challenged ourselves to try to figure out, how do we really very simply be able to bring this data to the forefront, so you can start to make really well-informed decisions. So, and that's before even accepting a job, or if you're going through tendering stage. So you really want the analytics and the data that sits behind any job, and then stack that up. So if you're a company that, completes volume work, you might look after a large portfolio. You might have a couple of clients that give you quite a bit of work in any period of time. It's really starting to align all that data together, and then just understanding where's this going to take us? Like, where is the hurdles going to be? Where are the pinch points going to be? So then you can start to do a lot better cash flow management. I think it's well documented that it's one aspect of the industry that probably hasn't dealt with that challenge so well. And obviously, being a builder myself, that was something that we could see as we were growing. Like, we went through these same challenges. So we wanted to really be able to highlight that for ourselves as business owners and for our staff, for our project managers, to really be able to accurately report on their portfolio of work. So that's something that we're really proud of, that Loop does that. We don't need additional applications to be able to really highlight this analytical data. Another feature that I really am proud of in Loop is actually just the functionality and the usability, like how simple it is. We quite often we onboard organizations and companies anywhere between 1 and 4 weeks, depending on the size and the maturity of the business. And that's quite a reasonable in-depth onboarding session. We certainly don't just drop them new software and run for the hills. We like to really take a balanced approach with that. We like to be able to keep it lean but keep it personal, and make sure that they have a great user experience and really understand the tools within the software that they want to use and what will give them good functionality. So, but part of that is our amazing developers have done a fantastic job in just making sure that everything's slick and clean, the functionality and the features that you're looking for are where they're supposed to be, and that when you're doing any sort of the day-to-day task within the app, that it's going to be as efficient as it can be. So,
yeah, perfect. One of the things that, and this is important to me, but I also get feedback from our businesses, from our builders, our members as well, is that they have gone and invested in some software, builder software, and then it hasn't quite, it doesn't quite fit the bill, and it'd be good if they could tweak this or have this functionality or what have you. And they reach out to the company and they get crickets, like they just complete radio silence. And I've running through your website and reading a lot about you guys, it seems like that communication loop with your clients, members, is very important. Tell me how that works and what the philosophy is with Loop about maintaining that feedback and that constant communication with the users of the platform.
yeah, I think you've nailed it there, Mick. It is a very important feedback loop. So it is something that we proactively do, is really try to maintain a strong relationship with our customers as best as we can commercially do that. I think the step before that is, when you go through the sales motion, we want to make sure it's the right fit as well. So if it's not going to be the right fit, it's not advantageous for us as either to sell that product to a business. So that's certainly something that we're not going to go down that line of thought. But when a new business is adopting the software, there is probably a level of acceptance that the business needs to probably understand that if they do have an operational procedures in place, that there will be change, that there is going to be some sort of level of change management. But we do our best to really talk through that, communicate that, highlight where the key changes are going to be. And then that way, if they've got a Loop ambassador within their business, they can then empower their team. They can communicate that down through the lines or through the individual teams, whether that's a finance or a delivery team. Because I think that's probably the hardest part for any organization when they're adopting new software, is just that change management piece. So it is something that we have to take quite seriously. Our dedicated customer success team do an amazing job, I believe, in helping and dealing with this with our clients. But yeah, it is sad to see. We actually receive a lot of inbound traffic from customers like that you're referring to, where they've adopted software, and 9 times out of 10 it's probably that it's just not the right fit. So something that I suppose you've got to navigate early on in the sales piece.
Yeah. So what's the pathway look like for somebody listening to this, and they might be still, that they may be unhappy with the platform they're using, or they may still be using their own creation, using a whole bunch of Google Sheets and whatever else stuck together with sticky tape. what's the journey like for that person? They reach out to you, I'm assuming, through the website. What's the process after that? What can they expect to experience?
Yeah, so the initial was just obviously our website's the central point of truth, which has all the information on there. We've got a freely accessible data library of videos and things like that you can watch to sort of almost upskill yourself if you want to beforehand. But what we would do is we would have an initial consultation with me or one of our sales execs, and they would basically walk through principally what do you want to achieve, what are your pain points, how can we support to work out first and foremost, is this going to be the right fit for you, is it worth going the journey. So we establish what the pain points are, we establish what the Loop features are which could solve the pain points for you, and then we would go on to do a demonstration, because sometimes there's a lot to cover in Loop. It's got so many features, and if we just sit there and we went through every single feature one by one, you would just be in an avalanche of information. And so what we really need to focus on is what specifically problems do you want us to solve for you? And we can say, absolutely, it can do this, 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 and this. Let's focus on them for our onboarding. And then, oh, wow, you guys also do timesheets. Oh, wow, you guys also do Gantt charts or something like that. We want to have some things that we can surprise later on. It's like, oh, wow, we didn't know Loop did that, which is part of the journey. So we'd have initial consultation, then you would book a demo, and depending on the maturity and complexity of your organization, we've had some bigger organizations that then need to take their proposal to their directors or to shareholders or something like that to get approval to purchase. So then we would need to create a more advanced proposal document if it's going to someone a bit more of a larger scale. But if you're more of a simpler business, you can basically go straight to the onboarding from there. If you're happy with the demonstration and you say, yep, we want to push the button, then we just send you a proposal, a light proposal. If you're happy with the onboarding fee and the monthly subscription cost, then we can just head straight into the onboarding phase and start to get you on board.
Cool. And what about training after that? So, you do the onboarding. I know that when I'm being shown something, this was happening to me yesterday. Somebody was showing me, you just do this, then you go there and you do that. And I'm sitting there. I understood the lot. I think if I had to follow that process today, I'd probably need that person to answer a few questions for me, because it would go in one ear and out the other. But what's the support mechanism like? Is it like a video training library? Can they reach out and speak to a human? What's the story as far as support goes once you jump off the edge of the cliff?
Yeah, I can promise you, Mick, we do employ real humans here at Loop, so there certainly is some humans.
AI hasn't got that far yet. We haven't got robotic humans that can answer the phones that way yet.
Yeah, we're maybe working towards it.
Yeah,
but,
close.
No, so we do. We have a wonderful technical support team that is here on shore in Australia, so we can certainly take any of those requests or any of those pains away. One of the things that we really love, though, is to empower the people that use Loop. So, and quite often we find if we actually go to a realistic setting, it's the query that's coming in is from a user that's probably not sitting, at a desk or is in a team environment. They're on site. They're, running around manically trying to do whatever it is that they're doing. So we've built out a full suite, ever-growing list of consumable videos that give you video walkthroughs, FAQs, cheat sheets, whatever the case might be. They can access that all in-app and consume, a 30-second video specific to whatever their query is. So that's, one of the benefits, I suppose, of Loop is just we're just trying to really just make sure that everyone gets the best experience out of the product.
Yeah.
And it speaks to the intuitive nature that you're talking about earlier, about you basically can self-learn the software because it is so intuitive. If I click, it does that, and you don't get lost in rabbit holes and loops where the wrong loop, where you end up down the wrong path, where someone who, as simple as, again, no tech, no construction, I could work my way through it. You work your way down the ribbon on the side, the calendar invite, the calendar logo looks like what it should do. And so things like that, I think, speak to less of a need for ongoing support. Like, we definitely provide pretty intensive learning straight up, and then we have the obviously tickets that you can lodge online too if you feel like you need extra support. But more often than not, we find that most of our users can work it out on their own if they just sort of took a couple of seconds to go through the intuitive pathway of what they need to do.
Yeah, cool. Not as easy as it sounds to make the user interface of sophisticated software seem simple and intuitive. That's a difficult thing to do. So that's great to hear. You mentioned AI. You don't have the robots answering the phones, all of that sort of stuff yet. But I do want to ask you about the future. In Black Belt, we had an incredible conversation just today, and one of our more senior members came in and did a presentation about using ChatGPT in a specific way to help plan your day and manage your mindset. And it was just an incredible conversation and an incredible training session. What does the future look like for Loop Logics? In 3 to 5 years from now, we jump in our time machine and we go ahead 3 to 5 years and we're having a conversation. We're catching up again. What has changed for Loop Logics over that period? What do you see in the future? Because things are moving and changing at a rapid rate with technology and the advent of AI and all that sort of stuff. Scary for many people, but can be inspirational and can save a lot of time, energy, and effort. What are your plans? What have you got in the pipe that you can tell us about that's exciting for the future of Loop?
Yeah, it's a good question, Nick, and I'll caveat with, we only know what we only know, and technology certainly is moving, extremely fast, which is exciting. It really is. What's interesting about AI is we've all been consuming AI for quite some time now. This is not overly new. I mean, it's the likes of ChatGPT have really made it a household name and a commodity. But you even think just in simple terms, in your emails, where it does like auto phishing or auto categorization into priority or catch up later, like these are part of AI and machine learning that we've all been consuming for quite some time now. When we started building Loop, we're blessed with some very good developers, the best out there. We were already using AI machine learning, practically where we could in the back end of the system. So that's been really fantastic because it's always been something that we're proud to wear on our chest piece, is that we really are sticking to the same speed as technology is moving. Now, fast forward to right now, we've got AI features that are obviously user interactive. So one of our latest feature drops was this project creation tool, which is really cool because basically, from a builder or a contractor standpoint, you can create a new project within the CRM of Loop, and that will auto-populate, estimates, forms, a whole raft of information off one very simple brief. So these are the features that we're starting to roll out now. As far as the future goes, our roadmap is looking very strong. Really leveraging AI. We take a considerate approach, though. Like, we don't want to get all buzzwordy about it. It is a bit of a buzzword, and it's certainly, just something that we're mindful of, because at the end of the day, we're storing, or our customers have a lot of rich data. So whatever we do, we want to make sure that it's very practical, very useful, but works towards our mission, which is basically powering the next generation of builders just to be better. We just want them to be better, be more efficient, more profitable, be able to enjoy a work-life balance if that's a goal. If they're trying to scale up, we want to be able to support that. Whatever their goal is, we just want to be able to help power them along and be part of that journey with them. So, yeah, we're really looking forward to the future. Like I said, we've got a strong pipeline of new features that we're forever working on. So each quarter we drop some really great features out there. So stay tuned.
Yeah. And I think just to add to that point, and I'm not an anti-AI person, and I think this is probably the culture and leadership piece in me coming through, is that there's always going to need to be human interaction. Like I don't foresee ever a time where everyone will be able to sit on their porch, sipping pina coladas, and everything's being done by AI and robots. Like there needs to be human interaction. And so if you look at even ChatGPT and engines that we're using now, it's only as good as the priming that you give it. And also, we need to start to think about liability, compliance, and governance off the back of it as well. So, if we are entrusting, our whole project, if we say, okay, AI, I want you to run this project from start to finish, and something goes wrong, are you willing to wear the risk of that? And so, I think we also need to tread cautiously into this AI world. And if I was a business owner, especially in the construction industry, I saw a house getting 3D printed the other day, which was pretty interesting, by a concrete truck. But for the next however knows how long, there will still always be humans building houses and in the construction industry. So we still need to be very conscious of that from a compliance and risk perspective, that I don't want to trust a robot with that just yet.
Yeah. No, absolutely good point. And it's important for people to I think look at technology as a tool, as you've said, Alex. And it doesn't even matter how good the tool is if it's being used by somebody with a flawed philosophy. You don't get the result. So you need to be, as you say, taking responsibility, but also using it as a tool rather than it taking over or you allowing it to take over, because you do have to take responsibility. It's a fantastic point. Now, before we get out of here, firstly, I just want to thank both of you for putting the time aside to be on the show, but also it would be remiss of me if I didn't mention to Alex that we've got one of our members who we've just sort of had a bit over our 10th anniversary for Builders Business Black Belt, and a couple that run a building business in Warwick Nabil, which is out sort of the western end of Victoria there, are absolute passionate like you've never seen before, Richmond fans. And to that end, his name's Wayne Preston, Lee Preston. They got Preston Builders out there at Warwick Nabil. I didn't really know what Wayne's name was for a while, because everyone used to call him Wayno Richmond Tigers. That was his on his email, on all of his social media, and all of that sort of stuff. So he was absolutely stoked knowing that I was having a conversation with Alex Rance from Richmond, and so I'd love you just to say g'day, Wayno.
Well, I'm sure there's two guarantees about Wayno. He's got to be a top bloke because he's a Richmond supporter. He's got to be hardworking, and he's probably got to be just a touch mad as well. So if anyone's getting into dealings with Wayno and his construction business, make sure you take those three things into consideration when you're hiring his services. But now I still have a very, very, even though I'm doing some work with the Gold Coast Suns, a very big soft spot for the Tigers, and I loved the time that I was spent there and learnt plenty about myself and about interacting with other people. I'm sure Wayno really enjoyed the 2017 to 2020 little run of premierships there, which was great for a lot of Tigers fans.
Yeah, well, he never ever let me forget about it around that time, because I was a mad Sydney Swans supporter, so he'd drive it into me every time the Tigers would take out the Swans. But it's almost like you know him personally, because they are the three things that do stick out with him, that he is an absolute top bloke, an absolute hard worker, and he is crazy as. So he is batshit crazy, and he's the funniest bloke you'd ever come across. So he's stoked that we're talking.
Well, Wayno, if you make your way to the Gold Coast, we'll take you to the footy. It might not be a Richmond game, but yeah, we'd love to have you along.
Absolutely.
He most of the time when we're on our Zooms with the group, Wayne and Lee are in their car. So it would be nothing for them to jump in their car from Warwick Nabil, Western Victoria, and drive to the Gold Coast just to go to the football, because they're that mad. But again, thanks guys for being on the show. It sounds like a fantastic platform. I love the philosophy, and you can really tell when people are passionate about contributing to forward movement and the professionalism of the building industry. That's what we're all about. We love talking to other companies that have that same philosophy and are helping to support the building industry move in that direction. So thank you very much for being on the show.
Awesome.
Thank
you.
Thanks, Mick. Thanks for having us, and big congratulations as well for your 10 years. That's an incredible achievement.
It's just been a small fraction of the time I've been doing this. As I said, it's been a long time being involved in the coaching space. I kind of forget how long it's been, but it's been decades and decades. So, and it's a lot of fun meeting people like yourself. So thanks for being on the show, folks. That's it for this episode of the ToolShed. We'll be back with another episode before you know it. If you haven't done the Builder Scorecard, click the link, invest 90 seconds. It'll be absolutely worth it. As I said, we'll be back with another episode of the ToolShed. Before you know it, I'm Mick Hawes from Builders Business Black Belt. That is all. I'm out. Bye for now.
You've been listening to the ToolShed. If this podcast struck a chord with you, make sure you spread the word by sharing it with your mates in the building industry. We love your help to make the building industry better for everyone involved.